CSST Service Delivery Clients Report, Part 2. In this video, we want to talk about some additional things in the Service Delivery Clients Report setup wizard that we skipped over in the first video. You should definitely view that one first if you haven't seen it already. So one of the important things that we skipped over was to talk about the two checkboxes here on the fifth step, which is choosing the report output format. Those will appear or disappear, as the case may be, depending on what you choose here. For example, if I choose funding source or funding source, so we'll get this straight. One of those checkboxes goes away. If we choose CSBG Section G, it also goes away. But with both of them appearing, we should distinguish what those mean. When we say show family, and there's a tooltip or a what's this help icon that will explain this to you in more detail than what is available on screen. I'm going to explain it in a little more detail right now. Show family simply means that we do not alter the contents of the query results that we've produced using all the setup parameters and so forth that we talked about in the first video set. The list of clients as filtered with all the conditions that you provided remains the same. But when we check that show family checkbox in the report itself, there will be a subsection under each of those client names that appears in the report showing the family members for that particular client. The other checkbox, the include family checkbox, this one, on the other hand, does alter the query results. So it will run through all the queries, giving you the list of clients that you've specified based on the filter conditions you provided for both service delivery, the service delivery client records themselves, and if you've added any other conditions related to clients, then those will be applied as well. Once it gets that list of clients to be included in the report, then with this checkbox checked, it will then add to that list of clients all family members for each of those clients. So in the results, output results, you will see not only the clients that appeared in the original filtered results set, but also all family members of those clients. So there's a sort of a subtle distinction there that needs to be understood in determining, the results that you're going to get when you go to output the report. When you choose the outcomes output option, there's an additional selection of dates over on the right side here that will be the dates of the outcomes that you wish to include. Each of those, and recall now that we're not talking about logic model outcomes here, aroma outcomes. We're talking about the older version of outcomes that was included in CSST prior to the advent of logic models. And those outcomes are entered on the outcomes page of the service delivery form. Each of those outcomes has a date. The service delivery record itself has a service date and an action date, and actually several other dates associated with it. And the dates on the first step of this report setup wizard will refer to the service date of the service delivery record. But then you can choose, so each one of those service delivery records that falls within those parameters, either the date parameters or whatever other conditions, filtering conditions you've set up, may have outcome records associated with it with varying dates. And if you want to filter those outcome records so that only a certain date range is included, then this date range here would be the place to do that. In addition, when you're choosing the outcomes version of the report, you've got this show notes checkbox, which does exactly what you might think it does, and that is that each of those outcomes has a memo field or a notes field, or in some people refer to them as case notes. But each outcome can have a separate unlimited note text assigned to it, and if you choose to include those in the report, then you check this checkbox. Otherwise, leave it unchecked. In the funding source output selection on the report, you have two options, so summary and budget And you can't do both, but you can do one at a time, do either one of those. The difference between the two is that if you choose summary, you're going to get everything grouped by funding source name, but you'll see no detail lines. You'll see only the headers, the group header and footers with the counts. I'll show you an example. So here's an example of the funding source report summary only. So you see group header and footer with total amounts, total number in household, and the total count for each funding source. On the other hand, if the funding source budget checkbox is checked, that gives you yet a different report, which looks like this. And you see funding source, budget, amount, expenditures, balance, transactions, clients, and the average cost, along with the percentage of the balance remaining. In funding source output, if neither checkbox is checked, then the report is yet a third selection or third option that looks like this, where you have it grouped by funding source, but now you're seeing the detail line. So for each entry against that funding source, each entry that used that funding source, you'll see the name, the funding source, the dollar amount, the source date, the number in the household, and the last edited by fields.